Good afternoon to all the audience who are watching us from Facebook and YouTube live stream. Welcome to 40th online series from Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KLSICCI. I'm Bhuvna, the host for today's session. I would like to request, please do share this live to your social media walls so that we can reach out to as many as SMEs in Malaysia. So today's topic is all about awareness on IoT adaptation for SMEs and business intelligence. The general idea of IoT involves indirect communications of smart devices, or we call this as IoT devices, includes wireless sensors, softwares, computer devices which attach to a particular object, where it operates through internet, enabling the transfer of data among the objects or people automatically without human interventions. And we can shortly call this as automations and connectivity for the industrial 4.0 revolution era. Before I introduce our special speaker for today, I would like to call upon Mr. Kumaraguru, the Honorable Treasurer of KLSICCI, to give his opening speech. Over to you, Mr. Guru.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bona. Thank you so much. Very good afternoon to our KLSICCI ESCO members, our council members, and our ST members, KLSICCI ST members, and our visitors, and also our today's guest speaker, Dr. Mazlan Abbas, who is an IoT expert and also CEO of the favorite company. All right, and this is our 40th series. We already reached our almost 40th. So it's a big victory for KLSICCI. And our topic for today is IoT adoptions for SME business and business intelligence, as what we call IR 4.0. And everybody knows IoT, Internet of Things, is one of the vital and important role playing in the business areas. And as well, nowadays, even the house also using IoT. You talk about Google Home, and those kind of devices, most of the devices, even air condition, everything been air conditions, lighting, smart systems, everything been hooked it up with Google Home as well. For information, I'm running my own business on construction and renovation. We also running security systems and IT infrastructure cabling work. So a lot of people in the business world, IoT has become a necessity. And I can see how important the IoT is and how to minimize the human capital and increase more in the technology. People have that kind of awareness, and a lot of offices, trust me, about 20, 30 years ago, without fax, we're not running an office. They not consider office. Now, fax is already evaporated. Nobody using a fax. I think only about 5% in the market people are using a fax. And everybody going to use internet. Without internet, in the office doesn't mean you're not running a business, those kind of things, so it's important on the internet of things, and people call us IIoT also in the industrial area, whereby industrial internet of things, another one called IoT, internet of things, most of the SME businesses. And I believe security systems like a CCTV, like a face recognition, everything become in one technology. So whereby people can use those kind of IoTs, and security part also is very important. And cloud, and it's amazing. Last time we are buying even accounting software, and we need to install one by one computers and all of those. Nowadays, people are using a cloud-based accounting software. See, because a lot of people after this pandemic, we are running the business in the different modus operandi. You know why? Because of now you can work from home, and a lot of costs can be cut down. As a boss, how to increase the efficiency, how to minimize the cost is important. So cloud and IoT playing important role. I recently read about cloud basis under Oracle. They come up with NetSuite. NetSuite is one of the Oracle cloud basis. They started cloud talking about 2002. Almost 20 years they were using cloud basis, and this year, second fiscal of year, they make money almost about 9 billion sales. So you see the huge potential on the cloud and IoT, how people are using it. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Mazlan to share about his expert on IoT and how to our chamber people, our members can benefit out of it, how they can apply in their businesses. And as what we know, our Indian people, our Indian business owner, most of the people, 70 to 80% people are in the service industries. So those kind of industries, how this IoT, Internet of Things, can apply and can efficiently can do business globally, not only locally, globally. Okay, thanks, Buana. You can carry on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru. Thank you so much for the welcoming speech. So without further ado, now it's time for us to welcome our proudly honorable guest speaker for today, Dr. Mazlan Abbas, the CEO and the co-founder of Favorite, the IoT man of Malaysia, who has also made us to be proud with his position as the 50th most impactful smart cities leaders by World CSR 2017. Being profound thought leader and influencer in IoT area, Dr. Mazlan has more than 30 years of experience and accomplishment in senior management capacity in Red Tone IoT, MIMOS, Cellcom, and UTM. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Mazlan Abbas to present on the brief of IoT and how SMEs can be benefited on this fast-moving Industry 4.0 era. Over to you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much, Bhuvna. Thank you, Mr. Kumara Guru, for the introduction. And it's a well described about the Internet of Things. And I think, first of all, I would like to say thank you very much to KLSICCI for inviting me to this particular session. I'm sure that you have heard and listened a lot more about this technology for quite some time, since the early days when we mentioned about the Internet of Things in 2014, as early as 2014. That was the days when we are talking about the National IoT Strategic Framework. Okay. The idea for the presentation today is about, giving that kind of more awareness to all of the SMEs. I'm sure that you have heard about it, but you're just not sure of how to start and to begin your journey in doing this Internet of Things. One of the things that I've always insist that in our country, we should be looking towards more about having what we call the idea of consumer versus producer kind of nation. If you remember, I think most of the time when we implement things, we consume a lot of things, and the technologies and the products that we have developed actually is not sometimes most of the time it belongs to other people or other countries, which I believe is not fair for the people who are the SMEs who are actually building the solutions in-house. So we like to have more and more initiatives and purchases or procurements from our local users to purchase from our local industry. So this idea of consumer versus producer nation, it has been a big problem when we become a consumer nation. We are not grooming and we are not growing our own internal capability. Yeah? We are not supporting our local industry. We have been talking about made in Malaysia thing. We would like to buy our own Malaysia, but yet most of the time when technology we want to implement any new technologies, it will come from overseas. So it's a big problem. What we want is to become a producer nation, whereby the talents that we're going to have, to get from all our graduates from the local universities, their talents should be fully utilized rather than become just a consumer. You buy things, you don't need, very innovative mind or creative mind, because to become a producer nation, you need that kind of people. By having this kind of people, then you can develop your own products. Yeah, so we should be proud of doing that. This roadmap or this IoT initiative we have started very much early, not 2 years back, not 4 years back. It was nearly 7 years ago, 2014. And during that time, when we launched this National IoT Strategy Roadmap, the idea is that first, we want to create that IoT ecosystem, a very conducive one, with all the players, enough players that we don't have to depend the players which is from overseas. I still remember the days when we have this problem of pandemic the last 2 years. What happened is the logistic just break down, and when you are so dependent on some components or raw materials from overseas, and then when their company or organization are impacted, your delivery is also impacted here in Malaysia. But when you have everything, the whole ecosystem within our own country, then we don't have to depend so much on overseas technology. Yeah. So the idea is to build that very conducive IoT industry ecosystem, because there are many players inside here. There's no single company can provide total end-to-end solutions. I will tell you why. Because it comprises a lot of components inside there. Yeah. Secondly, the technopreneurship, building the capability for us to produce new applications, new services. And then if the idea for us is to become a regional development hub, then we should become a producer nation. That's the idea. So this is one of the, these are the three goals that we have made much earlier, but somehow along the way, we still have a lot of challenges in executing that initiative or activity or strategic action plan. Yeah. So to become producer nation, you have the market. The market have a problem. These three components very important. When the market have a problem, the most close to the market is actually the industry players, people like yourself, the SMEs. You know exactly what the problem that they are facing. And from there, if you don't have the capability to build your own R&D capability to build that solutions, you might outsource this to the university. The university have all the talents to do that. But unfortunately, the university unable to produce very complete commercial product. They can most likely end at the stage of a lab prototype, what we call alpha prototype. But alpha prototype is not enough. You need to bring this prototype to the field, go to the real customers, and have a feeling of what the customers would like to say. So that's why the industry have to bring these lab prototypes together with the university, show this and demonstrate this to the market that this product can solve their problem. That product is what we call the beta prototype. So once they have given us the some ideas of how to improve it, then you can reiterate it. So you can go back to universities, ask them that you can improve this new thing. So the idea of industry problem have to pass back to the university. Yeah. So once the market adopt our local industry product, then the industry can grow. They can sustain, and the revenue that they will gain from this market will allow them to grow bigger and hire more people and getting more product, more innovators, or people who can develop new technologies. Then the university graduates have a place for them when they graduate. So that is why the whole ecosystem is very important for us to make sure that it works nicely. Yeah? And then if you take a look at the IoT, IoT have this history. Maybe some of you knows about this, but did you know that the term IoT, Internet of Things, have been coined by the father of IoT himself, Kevin Ashton. He worked in the Procter & Gamble. He is an R&D engineer over there. He found out that there is this issue of monitoring the number of assets from the shops to the warehouse. For example, the lipsticks, how many boxes of the lipsticks are still available, which color are still in stock, out of stock or whatever. So they have to keep track of that assets. So so when he founded MIT, in MIT, he founded MIT ID. So he used the technology called RFID at that time. So using RFID, they have the capability to keep track of all the boxes, all the assets, or the things, they call it. Yeah? So you can track it wherever they are. So you know exactly the amount, the quantity, and the whereabouts. So from there, this idea of Internet of Things has been pitched out by him, and by, now we are using that term Internet of Things. And this Internet of Things is actually it's not in 1999. The real products that have been evolved actually much earlier, even though they have not called it Internet of Things. They call it connected code machine. For example, in Carnegie Mellon in 1982, what happened is that David Nichols, he's a student, so with his friends, he developed a connected code machine because he wants to know exactly if there is still coke inside there and still very cold, so otherwise when they come from the fourth floor and look at the Coca-Cola at the ground floor, he found out that there's no coke anymore. So he solved the problem by connecting the coke machine, and there is a sensor inside there that detects whether there is still how many Coca-Cola goes in and out from that coke machine. And then in 1990, John Romke, he's the first one that designed the TCP/IP stack for IBM PC. He designed something which is very fanciful, internet toaster. The internet toaster, when you can switch it on, we can switch it off. But the idea is actually you can control devices like this through the internet. Yeah. So they at that time the term Internet of Things have not been coined. Yeah, but they just use what they call internet toaster, connected code machines, and all that. So because of this new technology as early as 1980s and 1990s, we have seen that every new technology comes in, it will always disrupt the whole organization. You cannot run away. If organizations who don't want to adopt and embrace this new technology, they will become obsolete. So technology like this sometimes comes at 3 years, 7 years, cycle. And you have to keep track of this new technology. Otherwise, we have seen that the last 50 years ago, the 90% of the company is only still in existence. The rest of the company have obsolete because they didn't react fast enough in embracing this new technology. So the idea for this, if you look at RR 4.0, there's so many technologies is out there. Yeah, it depends on which technology that you want to choose for you to enhance your business. So if we take a look at this technology, it doesn't come, sometimes the technology comes in single technology, sometimes it comes in many technologies. Sometimes when this ripples of technology, I call it become a big fusion. When it fused together, become wave, a wave become bigger wave, and suddenly become like a tsunami. Yeah. So if you take a look, for example, this mobile technology from first generation up to the 5th generation mobile now, it comes in cycle. There is this technology cycle, we call it. This generations of mobile is actually a 10-year cycle. So it will peak at the 5th year and will die down at the 10th year. The first generation mobile is analog. You have to use modem to send your data. But then in second generation, it's using digital. So the moment when the first generation mobile is peak, everyone is using that, new technology comes in, the digital comes in and try to replace that. So when the second generation peak, the third generation mobile will come in. So the same thing, the cycle goes. So we are seeing now in the era where the 5th generation mobile is going to be introduced. It means that the 4th generation mobile is already at the peak, matured. Yeah, so once you have that, the 5th generation mobile will come in. So we are going to see this 5th generation mobile by the end of this year. So technologies like IoT is the same thing. The IoT is not a single technology. It comes from different parts of the technology. It depends, for example, like the hardware in the electronics world. The power, the computing power is becoming more powerful. The power in your smartphone is the same power that sent people to the moon. Now becoming very small into your smartphone. It's becoming very cheap and very small. Yeah. Connectivity, now it's going to be everywhere. Everywhere you go, you can connect to internet from your home. When you go out, you go to wide area network. And then software development. Now it's very easy. Sometimes even no coding application development. Without any codes, you can develop it. And then the number of transistors double electronic wise. When it doubles, the power of the computing is becoming double. Yeah. So every 18 months or 24 months, you will see this Moore's law coming in. And then we see the IoT ecosystem is growing into a more matured with many more players coming in. You will see that different components of IoT, the whole ecosystem from the hardware players to the software players are coming together. Yeah. And then we are going to see that, let's take a look and understand about, take a step back, understand about IoT itself. Is it so simple to understand it? Yes. If you take a look at in your business, the idea of, because people will say that let's IoTize my company, let's embrace IoT, but what exactly that you want to do? Huh? So you got to take a step back and ask yourself, do you have an asset? Yes, you have an asset. Do you have a very expensive asset that you have difficulty to monitor from remote? If you have that kind of asset, then you have the capability to put IoT there. The assets, for example, like this. If the asset is your health, human have, the health is actually an asset of any people. And you want to monitor either your asset, your health, or some people have. Either your patient or your parents or whoever your loved ones that you want to monitor. Their health and also their safety. So you can use a wearable device. So you have a wearable device with their GPS, you can monitor that from remote. You can monitor their blood pressure, heart rate, and so on and so forth. And then you have a bus. You have a vehicle that you want to know exactly where your vehicle is. You need to keep track of them, utilization of your vehicle. You have a car park, you are the car park operator. You want to know the utilization of your car park. It's very important. Your consumption of your electricity in your house that you want to monitor, the security in your house that you want to monitor, and then sometimes the logistics about your goods that you want to send from one place to another place. You want to monitor the temperature and humidity to make sure that the goods, the fruits, vegetable are still fresh. The location of this vegetable, where are they? It's the same thing when you monitor your Lazada, Shopee purchases, right? So you need to know exactly where the delivery guys is actually, where they are. But unfortunately, what you are seeing on the mobile app of Lazada or Shopee, it's not real time. Yeah, sometimes you just update, sometimes it's not, because it didn't keep track all the time. Yeah. So then you take a look at IoT itself. Basically, IoT, you need to understand that IoT have these 4 layers. Yeah, some people have 5 layers, 6, 7 layers. It doesn't matter. But basically, it has 4 layers. Very simple to understand. You need to know one component, very critical, is actually the sensors. And then you must have connectivity. Yeah, you want to send the data out. Then you have the middleware, how you aggregate the data. And then you have the analytics, the applications, the new workflow that you want to build, the insights that you want to derive, So that is the 4 main components. And this comprise of the whole IoT. As simple as the sensors. Sensors can be many things, Human have 5 senses, the analog senses, the sense of taste, touch, sight, smell, and also hear. But the moment you change your analog sensors that God give us, it becomes digital sensors, it becomes so many sensors. So you can see sensors like acceleration, magnetic, leaks, force, flow, chemical, acoustic, humidity, temperature, motion. These are all digital sensors. Yeah. Some people might say that digital sensors and human analog sensors, which are better. Sometimes people say is analog sensors are better. But analog sensors, people like us, if you are in a room, you cannot even tell me the temperature of the room, right? So the digital sensors will be able to tell you are 25, your room is temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. But human, they cannot quantify that. You only know it's warm, hot, or cold. That's it. But digital sensors will tell you exactly where you are. For example, like GPS, your location is latitude, longitude, exactly where you are. But if your human sensors, you just mention that I'm somewhere near the traffic light or somewhere near the building A or B or C. That's how you analog sensors, differs against the digital sensors. It's very quantifiable. Yeah. And then you have these sensors are a lot. It's just I'd like to show you to you that what kind of sensors out there can be used. And then your phone itself, smartphone is actually a sensors. The eyes being replaced by the camera. The ears is actually the audio. The speed that you get from the phone is actually the accelerometer. The location actually comes from the GPS. The movement XYZ is actually the gyroscope. And the direction north, east, west, actually the compass sensor. You have the closeness. It can tell you whether you are near or very far, maybe through a proximity sensors. Ambient light tells you whether you are in the dark mode, at night or at daytime. So these are sensors which is already built in into your smartphone. And there are so many sensors inside the phone. It can be like 18, 20 sensors. You can check it out using your Android app utility. You download the app and ask the app to tell you how many sensors in my phone. And then you have connectivity. So once you have the sensors, the data that needs to be sent out, how do you send it out? It's either a fixed network or wireless network. Normally, because your sensors on devices actually mobile, sometimes it needs just to use by using a battery, so it consumes less power. You might use technology like RFID, NFC, ZigBee, or even Bluetooth. Yeah, so that is wireless technology. So everywhere you go, you can still carry that device. So just based on a battery. Sometimes you need to put into a battery powered, electrical power outlet. So your gateway might be connected to your normal power at the power socket and all that. But once you go out, you need to be mobile too. So you need to have a wide area network, 3G, 4G, and 5G. Or you go to the jungle, you might have use satellite. So it depends on the coverage. It depends on the capability of your devices. You can choose the right network capability. Yeah, so it depends. So if you look at the table like this, there are so many technologies. Don't worry about that. But you choose the right technology based on your application. Your application is very mobile. Your application need higher data to be transmitted. Your applications are very, your location of your sensor are very far away. So you have to choose the right technology, either WiMAX or the RFID, Bluetooth, or even what we call 6LoWPAN. Okay, 6LoWPAN is something interesting. 6LoWPAN means, LP1 means low powered wireless area network. This is meant exactly for Internet of Things. Initially, when they designed all this technology, which is 4G, 3G, and all that, it's not meant for small devices. But now they have built a new network, which is categorized under LP1. Low-powered wireless area network. It's low power, and it can send the data very far away, maybe it's very small packet size. Yeah, so it's good because sensors send very small amount of data. So this technology categorized under LP1. Example is Sigfox and LoRa. They use unlicensed band. Unlicensed band means the ISN band, the 2.4 GHz which your Wi-Fi is using. Is Sigfox and LoRa. Sigfox in Malaysia is being operated by Esperanti. Yeah, LoRa, you can deploy your own LoRa network because you can use unlicensed band and you can set up your own infrastructure. NB-IoT, this one is meant for the telco. The telco like Maxis, DG, Celcom and all that, they can use NB-IoT. Telecom Malaysia, they can use NB-IoT because it's licensed band. Yeah, so it's being standardized by 3GPP. Like LoRa is the industry initiative, the standards. So they have different capability. Which network that you want to choose based on that criteria that I showed you just now. Either you want to look at the range, the coverage, the quality of service, the battery, where the deployment is, payload length, latency performance. Once you have chosen your applications based on that criteria, you can choose the right network. And then I have to skip the third component, which is the middleware, which I will save later. The third component is actually the applications, the processes, the thing that you want to derive the insights. So once you have sent the data out to the platform, you have to take the data out and display something else. So, or you can create a new applications. Applications can be many things. Anything that you can think of now, the data can be translated into smart logistics, smart transport, smart agriculture, you name it, because depending on the sensors that you put in. Yeah. So you can create more insights by having dashboards, analytics. You put machine learning, you will learn of how the data behave, and then you can make some prediction and so on and so forth. So that is the fourth layer where people will use it. So I will explain to you later of how you want to use this. Okay, one interesting thing about IoT is that it actually is the main core of IR 4.0. I heard that you are well versed with the term IR 4.0, but let me share with you again of how people perceive IR 4.0. It's just like looking at the big elephant, and everyone feels differently, from the ears, from the tail and all that, from the leg, they describe the elephant in different way. So the same thing with IR 4.0, people might describe it differently. So let's take a look at how people describe it. Yeah. First, the thing that you need to understand is that IR 4.0, there's a certain reason why they call it revolution, or the word R there. Revolution means very sudden and very destructive. So every industrial change happen is very revolutionized the whole business. And so it's a very big change. It's not evolution, it's very slow and gradual sort of thing. So otherwise we call it industrial evolution lah, but now we are calling it industrial revolution. Yeah. So that's the idea. And then, initially when people coin it, they didn't coin the term IR 4.0. It's been coined by the German. They see that there is new technology that come in, the emerging technology, which is going to fuse them together and disrupt the whole industry, the manufacturing sector. So they call it Industry 4.0. Once they coin the Industry 4.0, then everyone is looking back the different industry revolution that happened, what happened. So Industry 1.0 is the days when the manufacturing sector is only in mechanization, you use steam engine and all that, manual. But the moment you introduce electricity, so now you can generate better by, you can have mass production. Machines are helping you. So using the electrical energy, no longer coal or steam engine. So in the 1969 and above, you see that introduction of electronics, computers, databases, internets and all that become the Industry 3.0. But when the machines now, instead of just stand alone, now the machines can be connected to internet. And that's why they call it cyber physical, where the physical world and the cyber world are merging together. So this is where the Internet of Things comes in. Yeah. So that is the world in the industry or the manufacturing sector. Then you have heard about Society 5.0. Hey, what is that? Is it the same as Industry 4.0, IR 4.0, or is it IR 5.0? So don't get confused. The Society 5.0 is the term being coined by the Japanese. The Japanese look at differently. They don't look at technology, but they look at how society being transformed. So when the era of society, which is hunting society, you had to hunt, that is the era of Society 1.0. You have to find your food. Society, when they based on agriculture, that is Society 2.0. Then they have moved into become industrial society in the urban area, Society 3.0. Society 4.0 is where the information society is. Internet has appeared, social media, website. So everything that we use now is actually on internet. So you are seeking information by just browsing the internet. And then you see that Society 5.0 is a super smart society where artificial intelligence will be in IoT inside there and so on and so forth. What we are saying is that instead of seeking for information, the information will come to you. That's the amazing part, So I give you an example. You have made purchases in Lazada, Shopee, eBay, Amazon, and all that. By the end of the day, when you log in again, you will see that there's some recommended things that the marketplace offer to you. Since you like to shop for bags, they will show you what are the bags available for you to purchase, because it understands your profile, it understands your behavior. So it's very intelligent behind that. So that's super smart society. So what about IR 4.0? So IR 4.0 is when it not only confined to the area of manufacturing only, but it goes to many sectors. It doesn't matter where you are, which industry you are. You can be in the textile industry, you can be in agriculture, you can be in healthcare, you can be in education. IR 4.0 can go across into many of these sectors, the way that we do business. But basically, it's the same thing, but I would like to describe it slightly differently so that you will understand where we are. Yeah. So when we talk about IR 4.0, when we ask you, are you in IR 4.0? Then you will easily can tell you tell yourself that, hey, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. So 1.0, if you are using manual and physical tools, using your hands and all that, some tools, physical, then your era of 1.0. Yeah. In 2.0 is when electrical is being introduced. So your machines being assisted by electricity. In 3.0, you have been using internet, database, computers, electronics, and all that, 3.0. In 4.0, all the new technologies that you're going to hear now, it's just like IoT, blockchain, robotics, AR, VR. These are the new technologies which is within the IR 4.0. If you embrace that, you are in that era. Yeah. So, World Economic Forum is one of the organizations that define which technologies, that comprise of that exist in the fourth industrial revolution or be used by this IR 4.0. So they have identified about 12. Maybe not all of them are related to us, depending on which country you are, depending on which economic sector that you are focusing on, you might be different. So they might focus on space technologies, they might focus on geoengineering, they might focus on energy, storage, transmission, and all that. So they might have their own technology pillars, I would say. Yeah. And then Malaysia, you have heard about in 2018 when we launched Industry Forward. It is very much on manufacturing sector. So they have identified big data analytics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, Internet of Things, autonomous robots, system integration is not technology, right? Cyber security. So these are the area of pillars of technology which Industry Forward focus on. But again, it doesn't stop you to go on other sectors. For example, when we work with construction, if you're in the construction business, how do you know that you're already in construction 4.0? If you are construction 4.0, means you are using some technologies which we identified here as the core technology for construction. We don't want to be very dependent on human power, labor, so much on labor. Now you want to depend on technology to help you and reduce the cost of labor or make it more efficient, more productive, faster to market. Yeah. So they have prefabrication and modular construction. They have building information system. They have 3D scanning and photogrammetry. So these are the new technologies that they have defined under construction 4.0. Of course, there are other technologies which are similar. You have going to hear again and again. They talk about blockchain. They talk about IoT. They talk about robotics. They talk about 3D printing. These are technologies which are similar that goes across many sectors. So you can use it, but some they might define differently. So now the question is, which era of industrial revolution are we in? So if you are on the Facebook, maybe you can jot it down somewhere there. I'm looking at the Facebook whether you are you can guess, take a guess whether which era of industrial revolution are we in. Yeah, you can do it now. While I'm talking, you will give another example. So I give an example since you don't know how to guess whether which revolution are we in now. Okay, the way that we cook, take a guess. In which era are we in? I don't want to ask Pak Ma. Pak Ma, I already know about this so much. Okay, Pak Ma. Okay, Pak Ma. You mentioned that it's 2.7. All right. The way that we cook, if the way that we cook in the kampung is using coal and using this cutlery and all that, that is still 1.0. Yeah. And then if you are using my oven, I'm sure some oven are just very easy for you just to change the temperature and change the timer. That's electrical power. It's 2.0. Yeah. Then if you want to use microwave oven, which is very computing power, electronic based, it can set you how to cook your soup, your cake, your bakery or your barbecue, different kind of meal. So maybe it's 3.0. But have you been cooking in the era of IR 4.0, which is 3D printing, example? Machines like this can print foods, or you can use robot, become a chef, and it can become, that is the era of where we become the IR 4.0. Yeah. So the same thing like you go to a restaurant, if they use a robot for you to serve you, maybe that is already now embracing the IR 4.0 technology. And then the way that we teach, are you an educator? If you educate and you are teaching in your classroom, still using the blackboard, the whiteboard, you are still in that era of old technology, using physical tool, right? And then if you are using OHP, electrical power projector, but it's still using transparency, plastic and all that, it's 2.0. Using 3.0, when you're already online, webinar like this, using StreamYard, using Facebook Live, streaming through YouTube and LinkedIn and so on, so forth. That's actually in 3.0. But are we teaching and using technologies in the era of 4.0? If you're using augmented reality, virtual reality, or you are using maybe robots as your guest speaker, that might be in 4.0. So no longer I'm going to teach you, but someone replacing me, which is a robot that because I've been talking about the similar topic for the whole year, I might just build a robot and talk about the same thing again and again, right? So whether it's going to replace me or not, that depends on how intelligent the robot is. Okay, interesting. So the way that we transact, I'm sure that the way that you transact is through cash. That is 1.0, using some physical things, and the way that you exchange money and people, the cashier, exchange your money, keep your money, and using a cash register is 2.0, electrical power. But once the cash machine is already online using credit card, you 3.0. But 4.0 is when you're using e-wallet, Apple Pay, so using your watch to make the payment. So that is something is a 4.0. And of course, in our area, you might be using the 4.0 thing in transaction. So again, overall, again and again, we always make an average. Are we 1.0? Yes. A lot of times we are using 1.0 physical things. Are we using 4.0? Sometimes. Are you still online? Yeah, sometimes. Remember when we are in pandemic, when everyone says that, hey, let's go and work from home. Not all of us have internet access. So the moment you have no internet access, don't call yourself in the era of 3.0. You are still at the 2.0 sort of thing. Yeah. So the moment you have the moment you have internet access, you're already 3.0. So in business, when we talk we talk about the rest of the organizations and other businesses, they are still like what Pak Ma mentioned just now, is 2.7. We are still 2.7, guys. How far are we moving towards 4.0? There's still a lot of gaps that needs to be addressed. So I think the first step is for us to get online. Oh, no, not even online. The first steps for us to move away from 1.0 is making sure that everything goes digital. No more analog. No more papers that you need to sign. I still remember the days, even now, when you want to make any claim, you receive an email with a PDF file, you have to print it out, you have to sign it with your pen and paper, you have to scan it back, you have to send it through email, and someone have to approve it. What? This is not really a 3.0. Is it like 1.0 using physical pen? Or is it 2.0? Or is it 3.0 online? When it's exactly online means the approval process, just click of a button, that's it. You have a digital signature. You don't need to have any physical things in between to do things. So that's totally 3.0. What more when we want to talk about approving your claims using artificial intelligence, or using blockchain? So these are some of the new things that we need to think of. Okay. The interesting thing about IoT is that it can solve all the 7 problems of the business. All the 7 problems. If you guys have internal issues within your organizations, the SMEs, or you are the SMEs, are the producers who wants to solve the problem of someone else, you take a look at these 7 business issues. Or we address them as the 7 M's. 7 M of the business. The first M is actually the manpower. You know that manpower is very critical. You want to reduce the manpower, or you have to ensure that your manpower is more productive. So you can do things which monitored from remote, rather than you have to send people to do a remote meter monitoring by physically to be there, by traveling cost is very high, accommodation cost is very high. Just looking at the assets from remote, what if you can put sensors that can monitor that easily? You can save hundreds of ringgit or thousands of ringgit per user per month. Yeah, that is simple as that. And you don't, it's very accurate, so you don't have to get more people to travel around the countries. Yeah, so you can lower the manpower cost. The second M is about material. You have a lot of assets that you want to monitor, and you have a warehouse to ensure that your warehouse is always just in time sort of thing. Don't want to be overstocked or understocked, So you have to know the location, the whereabouts of the assets. Where are they? Are they still at the port? Are they already going to arrive? So you have to make sure you have to monitor them and the condition of the assets. Sometimes as simple as warehouse monitoring is the temperature and humidity to condition to ensure that if anything goes wrong, the temperature goes, aircon is a problem, it will spoil the whole warehouse. Yeah? Very expensive. So the same thing, if you keep certain textile in as your business, you want to maintain the right temperature, put a simple sensors there. Yeah. And then the third M is actually the machine. You have very expensive machines that you want to monitor to ensure the uptime is always there. It's not always idle. If it's idling, you can run the machines for other things, because 80% of the time is laying idle. So you can make it money by renting the idle time, to others. Or if you look at the machines going to be, so much have a problem, creating errors, you can detect it, you need to send for maintenance. Fourth M is the method. You know that there's a lot of process in between in a business, and in between you see that there's a lot of these gates which human intervention come in. They need to do some validation, verification, and sign off before you go send it to another place. And again, this process being repeated. Human come in place in between to verify, validate certain things. So that becomes very slow if the human is the main problem, and leakages can happen, during that time. So things can be transformed in between. So you don't want that to happen. But what if there are certain sensors, you put ID, the moment it tracks it, it will detect how many units out there, the location, and so on and so forth. Automatically, it will trigger any alarms if anything's missing, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So method is something that can help. And then you take a look at the market that you have now. If you are standalone machines that you have developed, it's only for local countries, but you have difficulty to monitor the machines that you sell somewhere very far away in country, or even globally. But once you have that, assets can be monitored globally. It's easier for you to have a better customer relationship with your customers. You can tell them that they need some maintenance. Even before your customer call you up, there is a problem. So that kind of situation can help a lot in your customer loyalty. In terms of money, of course, money is a catching sort of thing where you feel that, if your product is just a standalone, it's just very limited in the sense of the features. And the moment it puts on the internet, you can create new business models. You can have subscription-based, you can have outcome-based business models. And it saves a lot of cost because now no longer for you to have customer service, keep on handling any complaint and so on and so forth. And the business now becoming different. You can differentiate yourself against your competitor. Yeah, your competitors still in the era of 3.0 or 2.0. You are now beyond that. You're already in adopting 4.0. The seventh part is that look at the management wise. Data that have been coming in, you need to help get your management easy to read the data. Instead of you yourself have to create writing reports every week and every month to produce report. It takes a long time for you to crunch the numbers. But if it's automatically, it can be real time and it can be very transparent. You cannot change any data. Whatever data that comes in and out, it is placed. So it's very transparent. So the management will have a better insights of the data. So that are the 7 M's that you can do in your business. So regardless of where you are, technology like IoT can play a big role. Yeah. So, but again, there are these challenges that we are facing. Good things plus versus the negative part where we have to resolve it. And I'm sure that you have heard about business case. People just don't know where to start. They know it's important, but just don't know where to start. Or what's the main problem they're going to solve? Is it productivity issues, or is it something like something that they need to do to increase their revenue, or what? All the 7 M's lah. So you have to define which M's out of the 7 M's to be as your business case. And then you have to rethink back, but again, of how your process going to be. So instead of 100 processes now being reduced to 50 or 20 process. Yeah? And then the actions need to be to revamp. New actions need to be taken. Change management need to be happen. So the whole organization have to buy in. And meaning to say that the culture needs to be changed too. The culture of the era of 1.0, which is very physical, now no longer. So everything is digital. So computers is always in front of you. So a mobile phone is a way for you to get access to data. Talents need to be reskilled. You have to unlearn the old thing. You have to relearn the new things. Yeah. And then you have to ensure that, because the data have to go across many departments, you have to ensure that the data can be shared among each other. New business model need to be formed, and then finally, you have to do some pilots. Pilots is easier for you to get yourself, get your project convinced by your management. So that's the idea. So IoT also have this maturity level. There are 4 maturity levels. Okay, one we call it very simple as monitor, and then you put actuators, you can control it, and then thirdly you can optimize once you have more sensors, and finally when you put intelligent in, you can make it autonomous. For example, in vehicle industry, you can put a GPS to monitor your car, the location of your car by using an app, have a GPS, and then if someone steal your car, you can have an actuator to immobilize the engine, control the engine, stop it, so you can have a car security. And then if you have more sensors, put OBD too inside your car, and you can monitor all the temperature, fuel, tire, and all that. You can optimize your car way that you know the wear and tear of the car, so you can send for service maintenance. And fourth is when the car is so intelligent, it can detect the objects, animals or humans, become autonomous. It can drive by itself, so without you driving. So that's the idea of IoT maturity. So we also need to understand that new project like this sometimes need to have trial. Trial because there are four main reasons. One reason is to ensure that the technology is mature enough. So when you have a taxi which is flying, and the battery that is carrying is under the taxi can last about 30 minutes. Ensure that it can last 30 minutes, otherwise it will just drop down. And then you have to see the market adoption. New technologies like this can be very skeptical for some people, how they want to adopt it, embrace it. Like autonomous car, whether you want to ride a vehicle which doesn't have any driver at all. You take a bus, no driver, no bus driver. It drives by itself to one place to another place. Do you feel scared, or can you take that kind of vehicle? Are you safe? Okay. And then the business model needs to be changed. Sometimes you buy things previously, you might now subscribe thing, or it can be an outcome based, or it can be also policy and regulatory matters. You need to understand new technologies like this. Our government needs to change it, ensure that it can help the local industry. Remember the days when Digo is similar to Gojek. Gojek is in Indonesia, so you have a motorcycle ride sharing. In Malaysia, they call it Digo. Digo failed at the early stage. The government don't allow them to operate their business. You said we cannot allow the motorcycle to turn into a business where you can get passengers. It's not meant for that purpose. Yeah. So they don't know which ministry have to actually take care of that particular role. Yeah, is it the multimedia or is it the transport and all that? So this is an issue of regulatory issues. The same thing when you fly a drone. You need a drone pilot license. No one can simply just fly a drone. And there are certain places you can fly a drone, not near the electrical pylon, not even above Putrajaya. It's very secure place. Not above your houses. It's very private place. So there are certain places that you need to fly drones. So when you have drones that can send parcels nowadays, postal deliveries. So how does it react? The same thing when a car nowadays, when it doesn't have a steering, do you define that as a car? When a car doesn't have a steering and it also fly, do you consider that as an airplane, or is it a helicopter, or is it a car? Or it doesn't have a tire at all, but it can transport passengers. Is it a plane or is it a drone? So you don't know. So the regulatory needs to be defined. So even though they like to ensure that the government to ensure the safety and security of the citizens, but they also cannot stifle the innovation of our country. So you startups, people like us who create new products, have to also face this a lot of challenges when the country are very slow in responding into new regulatory. So that's why the government now have what we call the NTIS, the National Technology Innovation Sandbox. Something that you need the government to take a look at the regulatory issues. You have to work on within that sandbox, and they will help you in terms of any issues that you face, whether is that regulatory or what. Okay, this is the next phase of the presentation. Now you understand it's very important. It's not other questions of what is IoT. It's a question of when you want to do it. But it's not the question of when. You know that you want to do it now, but now the question is how you want to do it. So finally, you have to turn that questions of from what to when and when to how. So this is how we do it. In order for us, if you are a startup or SMEs that within the business of IoT, you need to learn some languages, which is very important. So the most important now in all these languages is like C, C++, if you want to design on the hardware, the devices. The gateways, you might also learn some Java and Python or C and C++. Or in cloud, you might be at a higher level or Java, JavaScript, Python, or PHP. Yeah? But if you learn these 4 languages, Java, Python, C, and C++, you might not run away from these top IoT programming languages, which is very popular nowadays. Yeah. So then you can work in many areas. So, and then, as I mentioned just now, I've mentioned about the sensors, connectivity, and the applications. Now let's talk about the third part, the middleware. This middleware is the one that I mentioned to you about February. So I will share with you what we are doing so that you will know exactly why that element of middleware is also important. When you want to build an applications, you also got to understand the data that you want to own and you want to utilize it. So you have to understand this data is very key because the value of the data depends on the sensor that you put in place and the data that you acquire to bring into a higher layer, what we call the value pyramid of the data. Yeah. So the data, if the data is being produced by some individuals, that data is actually personal data. So it's up to that personal individual whether to share or whether to make it private. Yeah. Private data is organizations which is for their own purpose, for their own consumption. Private organizations, they build only for their own purposes. Public is meant when the government is putting up sensors like air quality index. You need to know that's your public view. Water quality, river level of water level of river and so on and so forth. Water quality. That's why people say it's the taxpayers' money. The public, the government needs to give that data back and showcase this to the end users. So that's why sometimes you see some of these statistics is being shown in some of the local council or smart cities, their own dashboard. And then we have the commercial. If no one is building that, someone builds their own sensors, their own infrastructure. When they generate the data, or when they have acquired the data, they sell the data to you because no one is building that, they will sell the data to you. So the higher you go up to the whole value chain is where the money is. Yeah. So below is data is oil, black oil. Symbols, the digits, the bytes, the bits and the bytes. But it doesn't make any meaning unless you can turn the numbers into something more meaningful. You can answer the question of who, what, where, and when. Then it becomes information, something more people would like to get. And then it goes higher. You can answer the questions of how it become knowledge. Goes higher up, can answer the question of why, that's understanding. Because as a boss, as the company's the CEO, he just want to know why my revenue goes down by 10% this month. Yeah? Why my revenue last month is up by 20%. So you just want to know. So you have to go down in detail to dig out the who, the what, the where, and the when. So to do that, you have to find the right sensors. Sensors which like the ID sensors, the RFID, location sensors, GPS. You have to put temperature, humidity, pressure, you name it, whatever sensors which is meaningful to answer the questions of why it happened. So the levels of business intelligence is also differs depending on the type of algorithm that you put in place. The more algorithm, the more machine learning that you put in place, the higher value it goes up. But it's more difficult. When you go down at the very lower level, it's just descriptive analytics. It's all the historical data that you have seen. It's what happened, things that you have already happened. That's it. It's a very descriptive. It's a normal dashboard. Diagnostic analytics is why did it happen. So you can dig down in detail and understand what's the problem of this data, abnormality, why it happened, some threshold breaks down and so on and so forth. What will happen is predictive analytics. We can forecast something which is not today, not what happened before, but it's going to happen tomorrow or in the future. And how can we make it happen? So you have prescriptive, you have all the data and make suggestion. You want to improve yourself, what are the changes that you want to make? So you can optimize the whole thing. It's a foresight sort of thing. Yeah. So in order for us to do that, with all the data that comes in from many sources, it can comes from various sources. You have to blend the data together to make into something more meaningful. If you have multiple sources of data that goes into different platforms, then you're going to have very difficulty to manage different data. So this platform is what we call the IoT platform that can blend different data together. So something that I'd like to share with you is our IoT platform called 𝗬𝗏. 𝗬𝗏 is actually an IoT middleware. It sits in the cloud. Yeah, it's part within the cloud. Yeah? So to understand what's the difference between the middleware and the cloud, let me share with you this. If you have an IT organization which is you have big resources, you have tons of money, you have all the people and the talent, you can have on the left side, which is traditional on-premise sort of thing. Everything is built inside. You manage it. The whole infrastructure from the network up to the server, to the OS, middleware, up to the data and applications. Yeah, you can have that. But sometimes people feel that, hey, I have problem in managing my network infrastructure. You cannot cater with the new technology, new speed, bandwidth that being required. I cannot cater to support support with the new powerful computing power, storage. I need to increase. Very difficult for me to respond to my customers' demand. So I cannot scale up very fast. I need to request for budget. So by the end of the day, they said, okay, I outsource that level, which is the networking, storage, up to virtualization. This be managed by the vendors. So they put this in the cloud. So they call it infrastructure as a service, IaaS. So infrastructure is a service where you allow the whole infrastructure to be owned by the providers, but you own the OS, middleware, data, and applications. But in the case where you also don't want to think about, what the middleware want to do, how to manage the devices and all that, the runtime, the OS and all that. You only want to think about, hey, my application is on top of this, my data is on top of this, then it becomes platform as a service. So platform is a service where 𝗬𝗏 is. So we allow you to own your applications and your data. We manage everything down there. Yeah. So if your software as a service, everything now is in the cloud. Meaning to say like 𝗏𝗏 is everything in the cloud. You don't build your applications like 𝗏𝗏 or Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom or Gmail, for example, Google Calendar. It's all service software as a service. Yeah. So when we talk about platforms, there are so many platforms out there. You know, they can be like publicly traded platforms. These are big companies, Amazon, Google, IBM. They are big organizations, very complete ecosystem, very good tools, but quite expensive. Yeah. And then you have open source. Open source is the one that developed by the whole community, managed by them, and you have to get the support from them to when you want to put into your own infrastructure. But then also you have end-to-end connectivity. These are the hardware players. They design their hardware, they design their platform around the hardware, but they don't want to share this platform to others. So it's quite close in the sense. Sometimes they say, okay, this is only meant, my platform is only meant for my infrastructure and my solutions. They have very end-to-end, so they don't want to share that. But there's another fourth category, is developer-friendly platform. You can connect to any applications, you can connect to any platform, you can connect to any hardware. So people like us, Fabrics, Carriers, and some others are the developer-friendly platform. So this is the platform that we have. You can connect whatever sensors down there. You can start off very simple education kit from Raspberry Pi, Arduino to be connected, or you can have commercial devices connected directly through a gateway or through another LoRa or whatever sensors that have there. You can connect using app, REST, or MQTT. Yeah. So from there, the platform will manage your devices easily. Onboarding can be very easy, and manage the devices also can be very easy. So then another way is also they allow you to extract the data out for you to create your own dashboard, or you can use the internal dashboard that we have built in. Yeah. So that's one of the things that you can do. So the idea is to rapidly develop your IT solutions. You don't have to think about months, so you can reduce into weeks into days. We have friendly APIs. We have a community. We have tutorials, documentation, source code examples that you can use it. Yeah, support many hardware out there. So this is how you can log in. So it's a very simple one. So now I'm giving this opportunity just a little bit for 2 or 3 minutes for you to do this contest. So what I will do is that I'm giving out 3 vouchers, 100% voucher for free beginner plan. Each voucher is actually worth 100 ringgit. What you need to do is that you have to log into this platform, register as a free user. If you already become a valid user, you can use another email address lah. So try out this one. So if I have the numbers, the winners will be from the winners actually number 1. If you're slightly late, number 10 will win. If you're slightly more late, you get number 20th, macam cabut tambah tua lah. So number 1, number 10, and the 20th. But if I don't get the number up to 20, then I'll just give from 1 to 10 only. If I don't get the 10 numbers, I'll just give number 1 only. Okay. So take a very short time, because it's just a very few minutes. People can register this as easy as like less than 3 minutes to do that. Okay. So I'll take a look at how it works, okay, and see how many of you have registered. So I have a colleague who will tell me if there is already people who have registered to this platform. Yeah. So so this platform have different capability because not different capability, different pricing strategy. Just I'd like to share with you is that a free user have its own capability, and then you have the beginner plan, which is higher capability. Okay, for example, if you are free users, it's only limited to you to connect up to 3 devices only, and also you have 500 API, meaning you can send data 500 times a day. Or if every minute you use 1 API, 1 data, then 500 minutes just finish off. So if it's not enough, you have to upgrade that into a beginner plan, which is the one that I'm sharing with you. That 5,000 API per day is enough for you to send every minute data. Yeah. So you can connect to unlimited number of devices. The beginner plan also offer you some basic analysis and also unlimited number of dashboard that you can create. So you can create different dashboard with a lot more widgets being given. And you can even share your data, your dashboard to a public. Yeah, you can even extract your data out, and then you have also a Telegram features. So that is built in into beginner plan. So 100 ringgit per year, or you can, if you are a serious developer, you can upgrade to a developer account, which have more features there. So you can go to the website, as I mentioned to you, this website, and also you can check out some of the details of the platform and their pricing and all that. Yeah. So these are some of the examples. So I have about 15 more minutes, but let me just quickly go through the slides before we open up to question and answers. So these are the slides. Once you log in, you will see that these are the hierarchy that you're going to see, the projects that you have created, and the data streams that being generated by the devices. Okay? So Fabric create a hierarchy like this. So you have a project, you can have multiple projects and multiple applications under that project, and each application can have their own group, and you can have devices connected to that group. So an example, you have a project like Smart City as a big project. You have many applications under Smart City, and then, like for example, river quality and lake quality are two different groups, and they have devices connected to that. Smart parking have different location, parking A, parking B, and different devices connected to that. Yeah. So the data streams can be streamed. You can see the data that goes in and out of the platform. This is what the data is being captured. You can see real time. You can see the dashboard that you can create. As I mentioned, if you're a beginner account, you can have a lot more dashboard, unlimited. You can have customize your dashboard with widgets that have been built into the platform. Yeah, you can see different widgets that can show you depending on the data that you are creating. So these some of the graphs. The graphs can be viewed within the platform for free, but in order for you to make it public, there is a public URL that you can make it public. You can generate it, and you can share this public URL where you can view this on your separate computer. So using a just normal website, you give a URL, you can view that as public. So you can view either through your own dashboard. You can extract the data using JSON or CSV file. You can create your own spreadsheet using your Excel spreadsheet to do your own graph. Or you can use other step-by-step tutorials that we have shown here using MIT App Inventor. You have used Plotly. You can use Chat.js. This can be tried. Yeah. So you can use. These are some of the community members who have helped us in terms of building some step-to-step tutorial. You can start off your journey. You can share your portfolio too. All the success story that you have built, some projects you have built using Fabric, you can share with your members. So the members will see at this Fabric website. So all these players are the members, so that they can contact you directly. So a place where you can share your story. Yeah. So tutorials are there. It's built in here, or you can go even to the Fabric tutorial. Yeah, the tutorial is out there. Fabric tutorial channel. All the experiments and even the how to use the Fabric platform. So how do you want to solve the IoT puzzle? It's quite simple. You go and find the development board, which is easy for you to use. There are many out there. And then you can find the right sensors to be connected. Or you can find one that we have worked together, like Hibiscus, the Malaysian IoT kit. So it has a built-in sensors inside there, like a barometer, humidity, temperature, altitude is also inside there. So you can connect through Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi. And from there, you can send the data out to Fabric platform. So there are tips and tutorials for this purpose that you can use it. So instead of months, even a 2-hour tutorial session, you can start your IoT journey very fast. So if you are serious enough, you can build these applications for example, like Tracker Badge. You put in GPS, you put in ID, you can create applications for many vertical markets. Yeah, you can detect whether you are no movement, man down detection, SOS alarm. So with the press of button, you can do many applications. I give an example, the one that I work with Fatma from Krio IT. So what we have done is that they have the issue in this campus where the buildings have their own network hubs. Whenever the network is down, the customer complain, is it an IT problem? But the IT people say it's not their problem, it's the power problem. So it's the facility should manage that. So instead of everyone is pointing problem to each other, so we have this system up and running where it detects the the power source. If there is any power failure, it has its own battery. It will send the data out through internet, and it send the data to the telegram. So when the power is restored, you also immediately see the message. So both party will know whether it's a power problem or whether it's a IT problem. So it's quite simple application scenario. So now we are proud to see that we have more than 5,000 people becoming a subscriber from around more than 100 countries around the world. So I suggest you to become the players for this. And I'm not sure how many have been using this, but I can see some of you have registered. And so not many, I think during the afternoon, not many of them. I can only see one person, so don't even get the numbers up to 10. So I have only one winner here for announcement. I will announce you later. Okay. Okay, and then the interesting thing is about IoT is that it's very disruptive, but everything whenever it's very disruptive, it doesn't have a traction, it will go down to the chasm and will die off until someone really found out that this really solved their problem and become an early majority. So you don't want to become late in the market to become the laggards. So a lot of technology, either the innovators will fail, or you become the user and the user become too late using the technology. So the idea is this, simple. The applications needs to start off with a very small and very focused problem statement. Once you have that, you can have a buy-in. Now you can integrate with the current legacy system. And then you have more, you can scale up, you can have more data, you can have more workflow business models and better analytics for you to start off. So finally, I would like to share with you guys, if you have time, you can download these free IoT ebooks, which I've written. One book is about your IoT journey, of how you want to start your journey building your IoT solutions. And secondly, about for a lecture notes, some notes about IoT itself. Yeah. So what I will do is that I will, after the end of the presentation, I'll give you the link of the slides that you can download it. You check out at the Facebook slides, at Facebook comments. I will put that into the comment side, so you can download all of this material, no problem. Okay, lastly, I think since not many of you might are here during this afternoon, I still want to give out this thing. It's a limited offer. So instead of 100%, I will give the 50%. So it's only 50 ringgit per year, that for 1 year, using the voucher code. And this voucher code is only valid for 1 week, today until 18th of October. Only available for 20 voucher units. So I think with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. I will pass back to Bhuvna because we have about 10 minutes for question and answers. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maslan. This is really a very good informative information about I would say, like, it's as someone who don't know anything about IoT, at least they know that where to start, right? So maybe you have opened a little bit on the blindfolded, but I still see SMEs are very much clueless on how they can bring into their industry, so the IoT practices. So I see, like, what we can do is that we can share about the IoT resources that you have shared in your YouTube channel. I hope, like, that will help our members and also audience to have more information about the fundamental where they can find out about IoT. And one thing that I see from your conversation is that if you want to scale up yourself, you want to see a different a level in terms of the industry 4.0. We were talking about it, you've given us the examples. Are you in 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 in a different angles in our daily activities? So that is really attracted me. So without further ado, I hope, like, we can go on. The questions has been asked, so we have some limited questions, and we have your co-partners over here. Mr. Padma has asked a question. Maybe you want to address the question from Padma. Is it like the local IoT sensor design company face challenges from imported IoT sensor when it comes to the cost? How we can overcome this and become a producer nation? So it's something like related to IoT community, the developer community. Maybe Doctor can give your opinion about it.
Yeah, I think it's all about volume, Pak Ma. I'm sure you know that volume plays a big role in terms of this. So volume will only start when we ourselves understand that if we can support the local company. By having that kind of volume, is either the cost can be reduced, you know, or another part is that instead of cost, then if you take a look at IoT, doesn't mean that it's only components like hardware devices. Hardware components can be a small amount or fraction of the total solution. But when you bundle up with the total solutions as a solutions provider, you can make up with the cost that you are not able to to reduce by having gain your revenue comes from other part of the total solution. So that's why I think we need together in the whole ecosystem to understand how we play a role inside this, how we can share our strength together, and leverage our strength in providing end-to-end solutions. You might be good in this area, might be good in this area, but in total, if we go together as a project, it might be slightly different. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. And also, there is another, a question from Zen Chu. So he said like it's a very informative sharing. Yes, I so much agree to that. And also he said like he would like to know if there is an incentive or grant from Malaysian government to support the business transformation. So I hope like this is also can be addressed. So my previous thought on this IoT is there any specific IoT advisory panel under any of our government agency? It could be from MIMOS or under MOSTI. Is there anything that SMEs can actually go and check it out?
Okay, there are several areas grant or incentive that you can get. One is, as you know, there is industry forward grant. So industry forward have this intervention grant. You have you need to do a readiness assessment. The customer need to have readiness assessment, and then you will have this grant provided to you if you are eligible. So it's a matching grant. So it will relieve the cost from the client to uplift their operations into IR 4.0 or anything on IoT. And then there's a grant on NTIS. It comes from 250,000 up to I'm not sure, 500,000 or whatever. So you can also apply that grant. It will help you in terms of testing out, trialing out your product. And there's also a grant from MOSTI, what we call IDANA. IDANA grant, there is a different kind of grants for startups, as small as from 500,000 up to millions of ringgit. So it depends on this grant depend on the status of your R&D, whether you are still at the lab stage or you are now moving towards the field stage where you are trialing out with the actual customer, or you are now at the stage of want to go beyond the, making sure that your standards are there, optimization, and it's more on pre-commercialization. And then they also grant from MTDC and MEDEC and all that. They match the grant between the technology providers and also from the end users. But the grant is not big, maybe about 25K and all that. So, but there are bigger grants if you have that. So in terms of who are the people that manage the blueprint, you will see that last time it's mostly for the IoT national IoT framework, but I think with the RMK12 they are trying to revisit back the whole national IoT strategy framework. But there are also initiatives which is being run through My Digital and also the 4IR strategy. Hopefully they put some grant there lah, yeah. But I haven't seen that grant under that blueprint at the moment.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Maslan. So I had one question, as I told you, like, is there any advisory or panel or agency that we particularly can check out on knowing the, what you say, like about the national strategy roadmap for IoT? Is there any specific site that we can refer to for SMEs?
Okay. At the moment, we don't have that. from the ministerial level. Initially, when they start off with the national IT strategic roadmap, that should be the case. But unfortunately, the initiative just died down, so it doesn't have that national level. But of course, I think we shouldn't depend so much on the the national level, but we should depend on association. For example, 𝗦𝗍𝗧𝗏, the one that myself and Pak Ma is already in, the Malaysia IoT Association. So these are the industry voice. They can provide a platform for us to share our ideas and thoughts. And if there is any requirement or any recommendation that we can put forth to the government, that we can put forth towards that. So that is Malaysia IoT Association, and there is some organizations on Fourth Industrial Revolution, but that covers a lot more technologies rather than just IoT. But the one I mentioned just now is the 𝗦𝗍𝗧𝗏, is very specific and focused on IoT. So that is industry-based platform. Yeah. Now, and of course, there are some other unofficial platform that I have generated and create that the WhatsApp group. People can share their own initiative there. Okay, but it's not a word from the government lah. It's only for the industry.
So it is again, we put it this as a kita jaga kita. So the association can be a channel for any SMEs who want to know how they can actually bring up the IoT adaptations into their businesses or organization. And thank you so much, Dr. Maslan. It has been a very informative content that you have given to us, and also you have shared the slides, and we are so happy to have you today. So on behalf of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Indian Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much to you and also all the audience who supported this 40th online series session by KLSICCI. So our motive is that to bring more awareness on Industry 4.0 adaptations among SMEs, startups, and small business owners, whoever want to actually scale up their businesses.
Okay, one more thing, Bubna. I would like to say thank you to KLSICCI and also to you, Bubna, for being a very nice host. Just one announcement: the winner for the favorite platform, I will inform through email. In fact, there's one winner. I will see this 𝗏𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 blessed. If there is any new winners, we'll inform that through the email. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mazlan, for this quiz, and also give some kind of incentive for the startups on bringing your favorite into their business adaptation. So that's great. To all of you, please do stay tuned on our upcoming programs from KLSICCI's Industry 4.0 Adaptations Online Series. Until then, good evening to all. Stay safe and see you all again.
Thank you.